Now, this video is for those of you who might have read Red Rising or are currently reading it, or perhaps thinking about jumping into the series. So I'll try and keep it as spoiler-free as I can, so that you can enjoy it without ruining any plot points or anything like that. So I recently just finished two large fantasy novels. The first one being Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson, which I created a video on last week. And the second one was Red Rising by Pierce Brown, which is what this video is about. Now, I will admit, I almost didn't finish this book. I listened to it in audiobook form and started it probably over a year ago. From what I can recall, I did enjoy it. And I would probably say, without spoiling anything, that the first third of the book is quite different to the second two-thirds. So all the events lead up to the second two-thirds. And it was probably halfway through that second part that I kind of just dropped off. It was kind of just feeling a little bit samey to me, I think. And at the time, I was probably reading a couple of other books, as I usually do. And I just stopped and didn't go back to it. Now, I did decide to go back to it around about 3 weeks ago. And even though I kind of had forgotten some of the characters and a bit of the story, I did jump back in and actually really enjoyed it, and sped through the last third of it, I'd say. Now, I do think overall it is a great read or listen, with some caveats. I didn't realize this book in the series was actually released over 10 years ago now, in 2014. It does share some DNA with the Hunger Games, like some people have said, but I think it's more adult focused, and there's a heavier emphasis on politics. Now, in saying that, it doesn't mean that there's not any action. There's definitely action. Almost too much action in some points, which is possibly why I dropped off, and possibly like a bit drawn out. But I think if you're a fast reader or generally focus on one book at a time, like I guess normal people do, then you'll probably be fine with it because it is pretty propulsive. So yeah, overall, I do recommend this book. I think Brown uses really visceral language that helps bring out the dirtiness of this world. And I think dirtiness in terms of politics, but also the physical space. And as I mentioned, it's pretty pacey. You're probably not going to get bored. There's a lot happening. It's very propulsive. On the negative side, I did have to suspend disbelief quite a number of times. The main character, Darrow, is obviously overcoming obstacles throughout, but it just didn't always feel internally consistent in terms of how big the obstacles were that he was able to overcome. But it's always fun to see the underdogs win. Now, just an aside, there were a couple of songs in the book which normally when I'm reading a novel, I probably just skip over. I don't know about you, but when you're listening to an audiobook, they actually sing the songs. I was thinking about it the other day. First up, do the voice actors know that there's going to be a song in there when they sign up to do the book? And how do they know what the tune of the song is going to be? Like, do you reckon they talk to the author and ask them, or they just make it up on the spot? Anyway, just a thought. So now that I've finished it, I'm a little bit stuck as to whether I keep going or I read something else. I'm aware this is the original trilogy and that there's 2 more books after it, Golden Sun and Morning Star. And then there's a tetralogy following. I never knew there was a word for 4 books in a series. You're welcome. And that tetralogy is a few years in the future and with different characters, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. And so I'm not sure about you, but having a series of 7 books is a little daunting to me. But I would be interested to hear from any of you who have read this trilogy and whether or not you think it's worth me continuing. I've heard other people say that the second and third book are actually better than the first book, which is enticing because, like I said, I enjoyed the book, but it wasn't my favorite fantasy book. I think I enjoyed Mistborn a lot more. So yeah, keen to hear what you think, whether or not you're just starting the series now, or you've read a few of the books, or you've finished the whole lot and you're waiting for the final book to come out next year. No spoilers if you can in the comments, just for those who haven't read any. But yeah, would love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and yeah, let me know if there's anything else you want to hear from me, and just comment below with all thoughts and fun things.